Okay, so imagine this. You've spent years, maybe decades, just pouring everything into your business, building it from scratch.
Yeah, your blood, sweat, and tears.
Totally. And now you're thinking, maybe it's time to sell. But that moment, selling your business, it's huge. It's not just uh, another deal.
No, it's way more than that. It's supposed to be the payoff, the thing that secures your future, kind of cements your whole legacy.
Exactly. So today we're doing a deep dive into how you, as a founder, can actually make that exit successful. We've looked at a bunch of stuff, including a really solid guide from Mitchell's Chartered Accountants.
And what's really striking, especially from the Mitchell's Guide, is that a great exit, it doesn't just happen. It's not luck.
Right. It feels like it should be the grand finale, but you're saying it's planned.
Meticulously planned
Okay.
and expertly executed. That's what they find again and again.
Yeah.
The biggest mistake they see founders make.
What's that?
Waiting for some buyer to show up before they even start thinking about getting ready.
So not having your house in order beforehand.
Precisely. They've actually seen founders lose like 15, even 20% of the potential value just because they weren't prepared before that knock on the door.
Wow, 15, 20%. That's significant.
It's huge. So our focus today is really on, what does that proactive prep actually look like long before any buyer is in the picture?
Okay, so that house in order idea is key. It's like you wouldn't just wake up and run a marathon, right?
Exactly. You train for it.
So the guide seems to break it down. 3 stages. And the first is all prep. For our audience who are already pretty business savvy, what are the specifics beyond just deciding, I want to sell?
Right. It goes much deeper. The real work starts way, way before you're actively selling. First off, getting a truly objective valuation.
Objective being the key word there.
Absolutely. Based on real data, demonstrable value, not just gut feeling or emotion. Mitchell's points out founders get really attached to a number in their head.
I can see that.
Yeah, and then there's proactive risk mitigation. Like if too much revenue comes from one client, or what if a key employee might leave? Addressing that before the sale boosts value.
Okay, so fixing potential problems early.
Definitely. And then making sure your financials aren't just okay, but like impeccable. Really easy for a buyer's accountant to audit. And finally, pulling all your crucial documents together into what they call a data room.
A data room. Okay, that sounds intense. What exactly is that, and why is it so vital?
Think of it as a super secure online library for everything important about your business. Contracts, IP, financials, employee stuff, you name it.
So all in one place.
All in one place, meticulously organized. And Mitchell's really hammers this home. It's not just about being efficient. It sends a massive signal.
What kind of signal?
Transparency,
Yeah.
professionalism. It tells the buyer you run a tight ship, builds trust instantly. It can seriously speed up the whole deal.
And the opposite. A messy data room.
Huge red flag.
Yeah.
Makes buyers doubt everything, can slow things down, or even kill the deal.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. That level of organization, that transparency, it's the foundation. So you've done all that prep, set a solid base, but then comes due diligence. I imagine that's still pretty tough.
Oh, that's intense, no doubt. It's basically the buyer putting your entire business under a microscope, verifying every claim, looking for any hidden skeletons.
Skeletons in the closet, yeah.
And this raises a big question. Can you realistically handle that onslaught and keep running your company day to day?
Probably not easily.
Exactly. Our sources, including Mitchell's, are really clear on this. You need an expert advisor. It's not a nice to have, it's essential.
Why essential?
They manage the flood of questions. They know what buyers worry about, maybe hidden legal issues or customer complaints you haven't dealt with. And critically, they shield you so you can focus on keeping the business performing.
So keeping performance up during the sale is important.
It's massive.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, if your numbers dip while they're doing due diligence, that's often the biggest red flag there is. Can be a total deal breaker.
Fascinating. Okay, so maintain performance, get through due diligence. Then you're at the negotiating table. Most people probably just focus on the price, right? The big number.
That's the temptation, for sure. The headline purchase price. But Mitchell's points out, and it's so true, the real value for you, the founder, is often buried in the details, the structure.
The structure, what do you mean? Beyond the main price.
Yeah, things like how much cash you get up front versus how much might be in stock or equity in the buyer's company.
Yeah.
Then there are earnouts.
Earnouts, where you only get the full amount if the business hits targets later.
Exactly. They're common if there's a gap in valuation ideas or if the buyer really wants you to stick around and stay motivated, but they need careful negotiation, understanding future targets, getting the legal wording just right.
Sounds complex. And what about warranties? You mentioned limiting future risk.
Right, warranties. These are basically promises you make as the seller about the state of the business, accuracy of financials, legal compliance, things like that. The catch is, if something pops up later, even years later, that breaches one of those warranties, the buyer can come after you, personally, for financial compensation.
Wow. Okay, so that's a huge risk post-sale.
It can be. And that's where having sharp negotiators and lawyers is worth its weight in gold. They craft those clauses carefully to protect you, limit your liability down the road. It's also psychological, you know. Negotiation isn't just demanding things. It's about give and take, framing it so everyone feels like they got a decent outcome, especially you.
It really is a multifaceted process then. So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you listening right now? I think this deep dive really shows that selling your business needs that same intensity and strategic thinking you used to build it.
Absolutely. The same rigor, the same attention to detail.
Yeah, it's about making sure that final reward, that exit, truly reflects all the years of hard work, the risk, the sacrifice you poured in.
And maybe a final thought for any founder listening who's starting to think about, what's next. Preparing for your exit, doing it proactively. It's not just about getting the best price.
What is it then?
It's probably the single most valuable investment you can make in your own legacy. So maybe ask yourself, what does it really mean for you to actively shape how your business story ends instead of just letting it happen?
Proactively shaping that final chapter.
That's the power of planning. And that planning in itself is part of your legacy.